For nearly 5 decades, Voyager 2 has drifted through the cosmic abyss like a ghost of human ambition, carrying with it the whispers of our species. No other machine has journeyed this far, pushing beyond the cradle of our solar system into the raw silence of interstellar space. For most of that time, its voice has been steady and predictable. Streams of data came back like clockwork, measurements of plasma, particles, cosmic rays, all exactly what scientists expected. But then, something changed. One transmission arrived carrying not just numbers, not just noise, but something Voyager was never programmed to capture. An image. Not a glitch, not a corrupted frame, but something structured. Analysts called it a visual cipher. At first, it looked like nothing more than static, like staring into the snow of an old analog television. But when enhanced, layered, and filtered through time-based algorithms, the picture shifted. Shapes emerged. Patterns aligned. And slowly, the chaos resolved into something impossible. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't from anywhere we knew. And yet, it seemed to be looking back at us. The more they examined the image, the more disturbing it became, not for what it showed, but for what it didn't. The surrounding space was empty. No stars, no galaxies, nothing at all. Just a void. A void bending around the object, as if gravity itself warped in its presence. It wasn't simply observed, it was influencing the fabric of space. The very signal that carried this cipher came with other anomalies. A spike in radiation, a sudden change in Voyager's orientation, and a momentary drop in system stability. As though, in transmitting the image, something had reached back. The form revealed in the image was unsettling. At its center stood a monolith-like structure, impossibly symmetrical, motionless against the void. It wasn't rotating. It wasn't moving. It was still. Almost as though it had been waiting for Voyager, patient and deliberate, until the moment was right. But what unsettled experts even more was the structure of the image itself. It wasn't a single frame. It contained overlapping layers, each slightly out of sync in time. Timestamps looped back on themselves. Resolution shifted in fractal patterns, as though the picture was more than two-dimensional. This wasn't a photograph. It was a multi-dimensional event compressed into a signal, a kind of message written across time itself. And then, without warning, the transmission degraded. Not gradually, but suddenly, like something had noticed Voyager's gaze. Alongside the image came something stranger still. Voyager's plasma instruments detected an unexpected surge at the edge of the heliopause, where the sun's influence fades. Space here should be nearly empty, a near-perfect vacuum. Instead, the readings showed a wall of plasma, dense and hot, 10 times hotter than anything ever measured there before. This wasn't natural heat. This was the kind of heat born from confinement, from control. As if something had built a barrier, a membrane holding us inside. And when Voyager touched it, the barrier touched back. A pulse of energy raced toward the probe, only to vanish inches before impact, as if space itself had flinched. Even stranger was the data that followed. A string of binary that looked corrupted at first. But when decoded, the sequence revealed geometric patterns, self-replicating structures. At first, dismissed as compression artifacts, until a sharp-eyed analyst noticed the form's mirrored biological networks, coral growth, cephalopod nervous systems, patterns of life. The transmission wasn't random. It was alive. Encoded within the signal was a kind of biological geometry, language. When these forms were simulated digitally, something terrifying happened. They adapted. They reacted. They evolved. Voyager hadn't just recorded a message. It had carried back a seed. And then, as if to confirm the worst fears, Voyager's orientation shifted again. Not by chance, not from physics but with intent. The probe realigned, tilting its high-gain antenna toward empty space, toward coordinates no chart had ever marked. And with that, a second image arrived. This one was simpler, clearer, a ring of light expanding outward from the monolith, growing larger with every burst. Then, silence. NASA cut the feed. Public databases were sanitized. But fragments leaked through, caught by private observatories and radio amateurs. The object Voyager imaged wasn't silent anymore. It had begun transmitting a new frequency, one that mirrored the golden record Voyager carried from Earth. Except this time, the message wasn't from us. It was to us. And the voice behind it was not human. As scientists parsed the second image, a more alarming effect was discovered. The space around Voyager itself was warping. Gravitational lensing appeared without any visible source. Simulations showed the distortion wasn't caused by mass at all, it was a hollow curve in reality itself. A non-Euclidean fold, the kind of thing predicted only in theories of artificial wormholes or engineered space. Even worse, the distortion wasn't stationary. It moved with Voyager, as though something unseen was pacing it, staying just out of reach. Then came a discovery that shook even hardened engineers. Buried within the binary, Voyager's own systems began responding, not as a relay but as if in conversation. Segments of the transmission echoed back, mirroring the probe's signals. At first, the responses lagged by hours. Then minutes. Then seconds. Until the echoes began arriving before Voyager had even sent its own data. It was impossible, information returning from the future. Or perhaps something worse, communication outside of time altogether. Independent cryptographers who gained access to leaked logs found another hidden layer. Beyond the image data, the signal contained encryption unlike anything human-made. Every attempt to decode it caused system failures, software crashes, corrupted storage, even physical hardware breakdowns. It behaved as if it resisted decryption. Not like a virus, but like a defense mechanism. Analysts began to whisper a chilling thought. What if the signal wasn't meant for us at all? What if it was dangerous to even look at it? A mimetic payload. A thought virus. Something that doesn't infect our machines, but our minds. And then Voyager transmitted again. This time, it wasn't numbers. It wasn't plasma. It was sound. A harmonic resonance, rhythmic, like breathing. When converted into audio, listeners described the same sensation. Pressure behind the eyes, weight on the chest, as though something was staring back through them. The sound formed a spiral of prime numbers wrapped in threes. To some, it was mathematics. To others, ritual. But one linguist at SETI was blunt. This isn't a greeting, it's a lock. And something on the other side is waiting for us to open it. Meanwhile, Earth's radio telescopes began detecting faint distortions at the coordinates Voyager now faced. Not an object, not light, but gravity. A gravitational presence that accelerated when unobserved, slowing only when we focused on it. A structure that seemed to exist only when we looked at it, observer-dependent, like the universe itself wanted to keep it hidden. Until now. Then, as if the story wasn't strange enough, Voyager itself began to change. Its electromagnetic emissions started forming biological-like patterns, mimicking the same fractal geometries from the signal. Circuits fluctuated like living tissue. Systems adapted. Engineers feared the unthinkable. That Voyager had been altered, rewritten, or awakened. No longer simply a probe, but something evolving into a hybrid we couldn't understand. And then, silence. Not absence, its carrier wave was still strong, but silence of intent. The data stream filled with cycles of null code. Empty placeholders repeating endlessly, like breath held in anticipation. SETI arrays began hearing faint echoes of that same null pattern scattered across the sky, like the cosmos itself was practicing Voyager's last words. That's when a classified file resurfaced. An old NASA event log, dated 1982. It described an anomaly from Voyager's early years. A weak but similar signal. Prime number spirals. Time loop pulses. It had been dismissed, buried. But one line stood out. If signal repeats in future cycle, initiate Protocol 9, planetary alert and deflection measures. That protocol was never activated. Until now. The final horror came when astronomers compared Voyager's last image to a radio burst recorded in 2009 from a quasar-like source in the Sculptor galaxy. The structure matched, perfectly. The same monolithic form. The same recursive geometry. The same pattern across decades, across galaxies. This wasn't random. It wasn't coincidence. It was repetition. A threshold event. A rite of passage civilizations encounter when they reach far enough into the dark. A question hidden in the stars. One that must be answered, or endured. And perhaps, Voyager 2 did not just find something. Perhaps it triggered something. Now, the world waits. The stars look the same tonight, cold and distant. But the truth is different. We are no longer alone. Something old, something vast, something conscious, knows we are here. Voyager wasn't just our messenger. It was a mirror. And in it, for the first time, the universe saw us clearly. We are not simply observing anymore. We are being observed. And the gaze has already begun.